evening, everyone. So, in the last session, we understood what is encapsulation, right? What is encapsulation? The process of combining variables and methods is called as encapsulation. So, variables we are going to take as a private and methods we are taking as a public. If the variable is a private, nobody can modify the value of the variable outside of the class. If you want to provide the reusability, then we are going for setters and getters. What is the purpose of setter and getter? Setter is used to set the value for the variable. Getter is used to get the value from the variable. Perfect. We are done with encapsulation. Got it? Java class is the best example for encapsulation. Next. Today we are going to talk about inheritance. Today we are going to talk about inheritance. Alright. The process of extending the properties from one class to another class is called as inheritance. Best example, our parents' properties we are inheriting. If our parents are having money, can we use that? Yes or no? If our parents are having a house, can we use that? Yes. Parent and child. Parent properties child can access, but child properties parent can access? No. No, there is no right. Right? Right? Parent properties childs can access, child properties parents cannot access. So inheritance, the process of extending the properties, the process of extending the properties from one class to another class is called as inheritance. Read that statement. The process of extending the properties from one class to another class is called as inheritance. When we go for inheritance, parent class will be available and child class is available. From which class we are extending the properties, that class can be called as a parent class, super class, base class. So super, parent, base, all are representing our class from which we are inheriting the properties. The process of extending the properties from one class to another class is called as inheritance. So to extend the properties, we will use a keyword called extends keyword. If you want to represent inheritance between two classes, you need to use a keyword called extends keyword. Extends keyword is used to represent inheritance relationship between two classes. From which class we are extending the properties? From which class we are extending the properties? That class is called as parent, or we can call as super class, super, or we can call as a base class. From which class you are extending the properties, that class is called as a parent or super or base class. In which class is extending, that class is called as a child class, subclass or derived class. The class which is extending the properties, the class which is extending the properties is called as child, or we can call as subclass, or we can call as derived class, which is called as derived class. It is called as a child class or subclass, or it is called as a derived class. For example, I am having a class called user. There is a class available which is called user. Inside the user class, we can write some properties and we can write some methods. Class is nothing but collection of properties and methods. Property is nothing but, can I call them as a variables? Property is nothing but what? Variables. Class is a combination of variables and methods. Now, class user is available. Next one, I'm writing one class called student. I'm writing one class called student. Can I say this is a super class, this is a subclass? Is there any relation? No. Those are two normal Java classes. One is a user class, another one is a student class. Currently, there is no relation between those two classes. There is no relation between those two classes. Now, if I want to establish inheritance, if I want to establish inheritance, then I need to use a keyword called extends. What is the superclass? User. Student extends user. Now, can I say this is a superclass? Can I say this is a subclass? Can I say it is a parent? Can I say it is a base? Yes. From which class we are extending the properties, that class can be called as a superclass, or it can be called as a base class, or it can be called as a parent class. Now, class student extends user. Student is one class which is extending the properties from user. Student class can be called as a subclass. Student class can be called as a child class. It can be called as a derived class. In the above example, user class is acting as parent class. User class is acting as parent class, and student class is acting as child class. Parent and child. When there is a parent and child relationship, when there is a parent and child relationship, child class can access all the properties of the parent. What are the variables available in the parent? What are the methods available in the parent? Can be accessed by child. But child properties parent can access or parent cannot access? Parents cannot access child properties, but child can access parent properties. Are you getting my point? Yes. Now, so diagrammatically, I'm taking one class with a name called user. I'm taking one class with a name called user, integer, ID, string, name. So this is one user class. In this class, void some M1 method is available. Inside this method, there is some logic. Okay. This is my user class. This is my user class. This class having two properties and one method. Class is nothing but collection of variables and methods only. And the next one, there is another class called student. Another class called student. Inside the student class, I'm having rank and I'm having void M2. Inside this M2, I can write some logic. Now, currently, student and user having any relation, or there is no relation? There is no relation. These are two independent Java classes. Okay. Now, student want to extend properties from user, because student also can have ID. Student also can have a name. Already, ID, name, variables available in the user class. I don't want to write them once again. I want to reuse. I want to go for reusability. What is the meaning of reusability? Using the code which is available in the other classes. So other programmers already has done the coding. They created the variables in the user class. I also want to use the same variable. Instead of I am writing the variables, I can reuse the variables. That is called inheritance. Can you tell me what is inheritance? Extending the properties from one class to another class is called as inheritance. The process of extending the properties from one class to another class is called as inheritance. To extend the properties, we will use extends keyword. It is a predefined keyword. If you want to develop a program with inheritance, then extends keyword is mandatory. From which class we are extending the properties, that class is called as a parent class or super class or base class. People will call with different names, but the meaning is same. That is a parent. From which we are getting the properties, that is called as parent. The class which is extending the properties, that is called as child class or subclass or derived class. What is the main reason to go for inheritance? By using inheritance, what we can achieve? By using inheritance, we can achieve. ये देखो, by using by using inheritance, we can achieve code reusability. हाँ यार, if you attend the class like this, can you understand? आराम से ऐसा बैठ के नींद आ जाता. You will get sleep. उसका नाम क्या है? ऑफलाइन स्टूडेंट है, आज ऑनलाइन में ज्वाइन किया था. Yes. But you, I have to remove this facility, man. For offline people, I should not give online access. By using inheritance, we can achieve code reusability. What is the meaning of code reusability? What is the meaning of code reusability? One class code can be reused in the another class. That is called as code reusability. To achieve that reusability, we are going for inheritance. Alright. So now you see class user, user class having some properties and some methods. Class student extends from user. So whatever the properties, whatever the methods available can be accessed in the student class directly, because student is acting as a child for the user. So in the above example, user class acting as a parent and student class is acting as a child. Alright. Now student extends user. Student class is extending the properties from user. So now we can say that there is a relation. There is a relation. What relation is available between user and student? Parent and child. Can I say this is a parent class? Can I say this is a child class? Yes. What relation is available between user class and student class? Parent-child relationship is available. What is the advantage? क्या फायदा है? Code reusability. What is the meaning of code reusability? The properties, the methods which are available in the user class can be directly accessed in the student. Child will have the access for parent properties. Child will have the access for parent properties. Getting my point? But parent can access? No. Parent cannot access child properties, but the childs can access parent properties by default. Alright. Let us see this programmatically. Now, I'm creating one class with a name called user. Let's take an example. User class I'm taking. Inside this user, I'm taking some ID and I'm taking some name. ID and name. Now I'm writing a method void m1 system.out.println user class user class m1 method called. Okay, just I am taking two variables and one method. Integer id, string name, two variables available, and I can say it is void m1 system.out.println user class m1 method called. User class m1 method called. Now I am going for student, new class student. Now, so student is a normal Java class. For student also, I will write int id, string name, int rank. Okay, but there is a problem. What is the problem? Duplicate code. Can I say duplicate code is available? What is the duplicate code? In the user class we have id name variable. In the student class also we have id name variable. Same variables I am writing at two places. If you write the same code more than once, that is called duplicate code. It is also called as redundant code. Redundant code. It is also called as boilerplate code. Are you guys getting my point? So there are several names available. What are those? Duplicate or redundant, or boilerplate. Okay, that means the code which is already available in one class, you are rewriting the same code. That is called as boilerplate code or duplicate code or redundant code. As we are developing the program by using Java, we should not write the boilerplate code because Java is a OOP language. Java is a object oriented programming language. So when you are going for OOPs, code reusability is available. Then why to write the same code in multiple places? That you are violating the OOPS principle. You are not following the OOPS principles properly if you write the code like this. There are variables already in the user class, but why are you writing them again in the student class? You are not following proper coding standards. You are not following OOPS principles properly. Are you guys getting my point? Yes. So what output will come? Code is correct only, but not recommended. Code is correct only, but it is not recommended because we are not reusing the code. We are rewriting the code. What is the difference between reusing and rewriting? What is the difference between reusing and rewriting? Reusing the code is nothing but whatever the code is already available, we can use it. No need to write. Without writing, I want to use it. Without writing, I want to use it. But rewriting means you already written that code, same code I am also writing, then it is called as duplicate code or boilerplate code or redundant code. We should not write duplicate code in the project. We should not write duplicate code in the project. Always we need to go for reusability. How can we achieve that reusability? By using inheritance. First you have to identify what code you want. Is that code already existing or not? If that code is already existing, आप reuse कर सकते. If the code is whatever the code you need, if that code is already available, you reuse it. If not available, you write it. If not available, you write it. Okay. Now, I should not write this duplicate code. I don't want to write the variables. I don't want to write these two variables. I want to reuse. How? How can I reuse? Extends user. Now, is there any relation between the user class and student class? Yes, there is a relation between user class and student class. What relation? What relation is available? parent relation and child relation is available. Which class is called as a parent class? Which class is called as a parent class? The class from which we are extending the properties, that class is called as a parent. Which class is called as a child class? The class which is extending, the class which is inheriting the properties, it is called as child class. Child class can access all the properties of the parent, but the parent cannot access all the properties of the child. Got my point? What is the keyword we are using to achieve the inheritance? We are using the keyword called extends keyword. Using a keyword called extends keyword. Are you getting my point? Yes. Now, here I am writing user class having ID, name, and there is a method called M1 method. User class M1 method called. User class M1 method called. Student class, student extending the properties from the user. How many properties student is having? 3 properties available. Simple, man. I have 1 lakh rupees. My father is having 10 lakhs. How much property I have? मेरा पापा का money मुझे मिलता है ना? Yes, whatever the money my father is having, that money also comes into my account only. I'm having 1 lakh. My father is having 10 lakh. How much money I have? 11 lakhs. Because I have the access for my parents' property. Now, I have the access for my parent property. Because I'm a child. As a child, I have a relationship with my father. My father properties I can get directly. Those properties I can access directly. Now, look at the student. Student is a parent or student is a child? To whom? User. User is a parent. To whom? Student. Yes, parent and child relation. Parent is having 2 properties. Child is having 1 property. Child directly 1 property available. Indirectly 3 properties. 2 properties coming from parent, 1 property already available in the child. Can we see practically child is having the access for parent properties or not? Yes. Let me write a method called main method. Let me write a method called main method. So this is a variable, instance variable or static variable? Instance variable. Now, in the user class, there are 2 variables, instance or static. Instance. How to access instance variables? By using the object. Okay. Now the question. Do I need to create child object or parent object? That's where you are wrong, man. If I create the parent object, parent can access child? Common sense. If I create the parent object, क्या फायदा है? No, there is no reusability, right? Because parent class cannot access child. If I create the child object, child can access parent. You have seen in the movies, right? In the movie, in the Tollywood or Bollywood, पापा को किडनैप करते हैं, बच्चे को किडनैप करते हैं. पापा को किडनैप करते हैं, बच्चे को किडनैप करते हैं. क्यों? पापा पैसा देगा. Right. So always we need to catch the child. Always we need to catch the child. पापा पैसा देगा. Right. You understand? So now you have seen that movies, right? It is will be there. बच्चे को किडनैप करते हैं. Then they will call. Your kid is kidnapped. You have to bring 2 crore rupees to Charminar tomorrow morning. Otherwise, we will kill his kid. ऐसे warning मिलते हैं ना? Yes. So why they are not kidnapping the father? Father also kidnapped. All right. So now I need to create the object for the child, or I need to क्या है बाप से पैसा निकलना है तो बच्चे को उतारना पड़ेगा कितना भी इनहेरिटेंस है all right guys, now here I have a parent class, and I have a child class. Got my point? Right. if पापा को किडनैप करे तो वो किसको कॉल करना पड़ेगा अगर बच्चे को किडनैप करे तो पापा को कॉल करते हैं, पापा को किडनैप करे तो वाइफ को कॉल करेगा. योर हस्बैंड इज किडनैप, बाढ़ में गई, तोड़ दे. Don't leave him. Yes or no? If a wife is kidnapped, they will call to husband. Husband क्या बोलेगा? उसको रिलीज मत करना. हाँ, you can say that. That is the reason people will kidnap children. अगर पापा को और मम्मी को किडनैप करते पैसा नहीं मिलेगा उसको. All right. So that is the reason always we need to create the object for the child. Why we create object for child? Child will have the access for parent. If I create object for parent, you can access only parent properties. You can't access the child properties. If you create the object for the child properties you can access, as well as parent properties also you can access. Whenever you want to achieve reusability, always you need to give the priority for the child classes. All right. I'm creating object for student S is equal to new student. Student S is equal to new student. S dot rank. Rank is which class property? Student class property. S dot ID. ID is which class property? Parent class. Am I able to access? Yes, that means child is having the access for parent property or not? Yes. So that is called reusability. How we are able to achieve reusability? By using inheritance. Which keyword we are using to represent reusability? Extends. What is the keyword? Extends. Now, public class student extends user. Int rank. Student is having one property directly. The other properties are coming from parent. Child can access parent properties, but the parent cannot access child properties. Public, static, void, main, string arguments. Student S is equal to new student. S dot rank is equal to 1. S dot ID is equal to 101. S dot name is equal to some value. Okay, some value. Now, क्या भाई? क्या हंसी आ रहा है? और कोई चाहिए क्या आपको? बानू? हाँ ठीक है. पूजा जाए. चलो भाई. Good. So S dot rank is equal to 1. S dot yeah, you people are disturbing my interest. Huh? ठीक है, चलो कुछ भी. Student S is equal to new student. Here guys, I am creating object for which class? Child class object creation. Why I am creating object for child class? Why I am creating object for child class? Child class can access its own properties and it can access parent properties also. Reusability we can achieve. S dot rank. Rank is which class property? Rank is a own property, its own property. Now these are what I am doing here? Accessing parent class properties using child object. Can I say like that? Now accessing parent class properties using child class object. Okay. S dot id is equal to 101. S dot name is equal to Banu. System dot out dot println S dot id plus S dot name plus S dot rank. S dot rank. Okay. I'm accessing 3 properties. But actually in the child class how many properties available? Only 1. How come I'm able to access id name? Inheriting. Student is inheriting those properties from parent. Okay, let's run this program. Run as Java application. Yesterday one person came to me. He is not getting the option to run the program. I am right clicking, run as Java application option nahi mil raha. I'm clicking on this button. After 5 minutes, I was checking what is the problem, what is the problem, what is the problem. After 5 minutes, I realized that this person did not write this array. When I don't write that array, program is valid. Program is valid, but you can't run that. I'm not getting that option. Run as a Java application because JVM is always checking for the main method with the string array. Right, so you should be very careful. That's why use the shortcut in the IDE. It will generate the method properly. If you write it, you may do some syntax mistakes in the main method. Got my bad. Who is that guy? Kahan hai? Where is that? Where is that person? Who is that? He met me, I remember, yesterday only. No? Not online, offline student only. He came to and he met me there. I forgot his face. Right. Okay, let me run my application, guys. See here, are we really able to access parent class properties by using child class properties or not? Right click, run as Java application. Can you see? Am I able to access parent class properties? This ID name are the parent class variable. Only rank is the child class variable. Are you getting my point? Yes. You got the clarity? What is inheritance and why we need to go for inheritance? Yes. Inheritance example. Inheritance with respect to property, with respect to variables. I have taken a class called user. You can remove this also. User class is available. There are 2 properties available. Then student class is available. Inside the student class, I am creating child class object, initializing the variable, accessing the parent class properties and printing them. And I am printing them. That's it. So user is my parent, student is my child. Student class object I created and I am able to access the parent class properties. For example, if I create parent object user is equal to new user. Which class object I am creating? Parent. Can I do user.id? User.id. Can I dot user.name? Yes or no? Yes. Now I'm able to take user dot name. Can I take user dot rank? Why? Is it allowing me to access? No. This is invalid. Invalid. Why it is invalid? Parent cannot access child properties. Parent cannot access child properties. Child can access parent properties. Are you getting my point? Yes, invalid because parent cannot access child properties, but the child can access parent properties. So I'm giving that invalid scenario also. Here, creating parent class object. Creating parent class object. Trying to access child property, that is not possible. Perfect. Now, let's take one method, guys. Let us see how can we reuse the methods. How can we reuse the methods? Now, public class user. User class is away, or else let me take some other classes. Yeah. Now I'm creating one more class with a name called employee. I'm creating a class with a name called employee. Can employee extend the properties from user? Yes or no? So who is a subclass, which is a subclass, and which is superclass? Yes. Employee is a subclass, user is a superclass. Employee extending from user. So user is a superclass, employee is a subclass. Alright. Next one. Take a main method. Take a main method. And let me take void m2. Void m2. System.out.println employee class m2 method called. Employee class m2 method called. Here user class m1 method called. Can I say user is a parent? Can I say user is a parent? Can I say employee is a sub-child? Can I say it is a child? Yes. Superclass is having a method, subclass also having a method. Now I want to call the methods. My main method is available in the employee class. Which class object I need to create? I need to create employee class object, or I need to create user class object. I need to create only employee class object. Why? Why I should create only employee class object? Employee is a child. If I create the child object, child properties as well as parent properties can be accessed. If I create a user class object, only parent class properties you can access. Okay. Now tell me how to create the object. Employee emp is equal to new employee. Employee emp is equal to new employee. Emp dot m1. Valid or invalid? Valid. What is this? Calling parent class method. Calling parent class method. Here calling child class method. Emp dot m2. Object I created for which class? Object is created for child class. Creating object for child class. Creating the object for the child class. Using child class object we are calling parent class method as well as child class method. Valid or invalid? Valid or invalid? Invalid. Or valid? Valid. Yes, it is valid. Run as Java application. Parent class method called as well as child class method is also called. I hope You got the clarity? What is inheritance and why we need to go for inheritance? Inheritance with respect to methods. Okay. Superclass method I am calling in the subclass by using inheritance. Code reusability. If a code is already available in one class, we can reuse that code directly without rewriting that code. Alright. So we understood how to access parent class variables and how to access child class variables, parent class methods and child class methods. Always remember, whenever we are going for inheritance, we need to create the object for only child classes. If you go for inheritance, if you create parent object, is there any advantage? There is no use of going for inheritance. Why we are going for inheritance? Why we are going for inheritance? Code reusability. If you want to reuse the code, you need to create the child object. Child objects can access its own properties as well as parent properties. But parent class can access only its own properties, not the child properties. So variables we are able to reuse, methods also we are able to reuse. So that is called inheritance. Inheritance. Now, can I write a constructor? Can I write a constructor? Yes or no? What is this? Can I say here system.out.println? Can I say it as parent class constructor? Can I say that parent class constructor is called? Yes, parent class constructor called. Go to employee. Am I writing or I am using shortcut? What is the shortcut? Just control space. I'm not generating setters getters na. Alt to shift S R, that is for setters getters. Here I just want a constructor. If you do control space, the first option is constructor only. Now see here how I am generating 0 param constructor, control space enter. That's it. Control space enter. It is giving the constructor for us. Which constructor? Parameterized constructor or 0 param constructor? 0 param constructor. What is the shortcut? Control space enter. So when you do control space, it is giving the constructor in the first line. It is already selected. Click on enter. It is giving the constructor. So what is the conclusion? If you use the shortcuts, you can write more code in the less time. Okay. So I don't know why people are typing main method. Control space. It is not giving the main method. Just type main. Control space enter. Got it? So type main, control space enter. Control space is for auto suggestions. Control space is used for auto suggestions. Right. Yes, I'm writing a constructor. Now I'm deleting one line, guys. I want to delete this line. People will do like this. Not required. Control D. Directly that line will be deleted. So you need to make more practice on the IDE with the shortcuts, then the code that you are writing, speed will be there. Okay? As a programmer, you should be able to type the letters without seeing the keyboard. Just like this. You have to do that. I can do that. I can write my name. Right? So that comes based on the experience. This is IDE, man. Okay. So whatever that comes based on the experience. As you are, every day we will use computer. Every day we are typing. Just 26 characters are available. Your fingers should work like this. Without looking at the key. Have you ever observed in the keyboard F J will have small tick marks. Yeah, that is used to understand where we are putting our fingers. Yes, not that. Yeah, ASDF. Our four fingers will be there on ASDF. JKL semicolon. Yeah, JKL semicolon will be there. Without looking at the keyboard, I can write that code. Right, we can do that. yeah, that is their shortcut, but no, man. Huh? Good. Yeah, I'm generating a constructor, right? Control space enter, I got the constructor. Now, I want to write some statement. System.out.println, what is this? Child class constructor called. Child class constructor called. Okay. We have seen inheritance with respect to variables, inheritance with respect to methods. Now we are trying to understand constructors. Remember, whenever you create child class object, parent class constructor also will be called. So whenever, now let's see here, just see here. Run as Java application. Can you see which constructor is executing first? Whenever you create the object for the child class, always parent class constructor will execute first. Why? Because child can access parent properties, right? If a child want to access the parent properties should be stored in the memory. When the variables will be stored in the memory? When the object is created. So that means constructor should be called or not. That is the reason JVM is intelligent. Observe, understand. This is a tricky point. In the interview they will ask a question. I have a parent and child relation. If I create a child class object, what will happen? So which constructor will execute first? Parent class constructor will execute first automatically. You no need to call it. Now you see, I am creating object for parent class or child class. I am creating the object for child class. What is the meaning of object creation? Calling the constructor. Which constructor I am calling? Employee constructor. Can I say employee is my child? Can I say employee is my child? Yes. Am I writing any logic to call parent constructor? No. I'm just creating the child object. I'm calling parent method. I'm calling child method. Even if you don't call the methods also, there is no problem. There is no problem. If you create child class object, automatically parent class constructor will be executed first. After that only child class constructor will be executed. That is default nature of our Java. That is the default nature of our Java. But you may get a question. Sir, I am creating the child object by calling the child constructor, but why JVM is giving the priority for the parent constructor? Are you guys getting my point? Now, the reason is inheritance only. The reason is inheritance only. Now, why we are creating child object? To access child class properties and parent class properties. For example, if a parent class constructor is not called, that means parent object is not created. If this constructor is not executed, these variables will be stored in the JVM or cannot store it in the JVM. Who is responsible to initialize the variables? Come on, man. Who is responsible to initialize the variables? Constructor. Now, for example, parent class constructor not executed. Parent class constructor not executed. If a parent class constructor is not executed, this ID and name will not be available in the JVM. Are you getting my point? If a parent class constructor is not executed, ID, name are the parent properties will not be available in the JVM. If they are not available in the JVM, can my child class access them? They are not even created in the memory. If they created in the memory, then my child can access. If they are not available in the memory, child cannot access. If a child cannot access, they are justifying inheritance or they will not justify inheritance? They will not justify the inheritance. So if I create only child, I should be able to access parent, but parent class properties are not there in the memory. So your inheritance is blasting. So there is no concept of inheritance. So that is the reason JVM is executing parent class constructor first. Then only it is creating child class object. Are you guys getting my point? So when we go for inheritance, which constructor will be executed first? Parent class. After parent class, then it is creating the child class object. Why parent class constructor is executing first? To initialize parent class properties first. Why it has to initialize them first? By that time child object is created, parent properties should be ready so that child can access parent properties. Is your doubt clarified? Why first it is executing parent constructor? To initialize the parent properties so that child can access those properties. Able to follow me? Yes. Inheritance with respect to variables, inheritance with respect to methods, inheritance with respect to constructor. Yes. Inheritance with respect to variables. So child class object can access parent class variables. Suppose for example, if a parent class variables are private, we cannot access. So if parent class properties are private, child also cannot access. Why? Private means inside the class only we can access. Even it is a child also cannot access. Okay. Now methods are there. Method I can make as a public and private. If a parent class method is a public, child class can access that method. If a parent class method is a private, we cannot access that. If it is a protected, same subclass, package can be different also. Protected means subclass. Subclasses can access protected members also, irrespective of the package. So no need to check the package when it is a protected member. Protected means within the package we can access any other package. If there is an inheritance relation, it can be accessed. What about the default? If parent and child available in the same package, then only they can access. Okay. Private means local. So even though you have a inheritance relation, private members cannot be accessed in the child classes. If they are public, then only we can access in the child classes. What about the methods? Child class object can directly access parent class method. If it is public or protected. Alright. Now, default methods, if it is same package, they can access. What about constructors? Constructor. No. Whenever you create the child class object, do you need to access them or it will automatically called? Automatically it will be called. Do I need to call the superclass constructor? No. When the superclass constructor will execute? during the object of the child class. When you create the child class object, first parent constructor will execute, then child constructor will execute. Interviewer will ask a question. Why it is executing parent constructor when you create a child class object? Child should be able to access parent properties. So parent properties has to be initialized first. Then only child can access the parent. If a parent object is not created, parent properties cannot be initialized, then child cannot access, then there is no inheritance. Then there is no use of going for inheritance. When they ask that question, you should give the justification. You should tell why Sun Microsystem made like that. Sun Microsystem made it. When you create the child object, parent object will be created. When the child object is created, parent constructor will be executed, because parent properties should be initialized first. Then only child can access the properties of the parent. Because of that reason, whenever you create the child object, first parent constructor will execute, then child constructor will execute. Are you clear with this? Yes. Now let's execute this program and see that. Let's execute this program. What is the logic in the main method? Isko comment kiya tha. Remove. Yeah. So I have main method. Employee emp is equal to new employee. Okay. Instead of this, can I create the object for parent? User is equal to new user. So here, who is parent, who is child? User is acting as a parent, employee acting as a child. I'm creating which class object? Come on, man. I'm creating object for parent class. Right click, Java application. Yeah, which construct? Alright, fine. 1 minute. Online people, sorry guys. Yeah. You can see screen now? Online students. Yes. Yeah. Which constructor is executed? Only parent constructor is executed. Why not child? You are creating the parent object. You are creating the parent object. Now, when I create the object for parent, only parent class constructor got executed. Now, let me change this code. Control Z. Yes. Creating the object for the child class. Okay. Run this program. First it is executing parent class constructor, then it is executing child class constructor. Very good. Inheritance with respect to constructors. Any questions, anybody? Why? 1 minute. Super. Yeah, we'll come to the super keyword. भाई आप जावा ऑलरेडी हो गया आपका. हाँ